Hey guys, welcome back. Andrew here with Ambient Endeavors, and today we're taking a look at a really fun and creatively inspiring pedal from Matthews Effects. It is the Technician, and this thing is really quite impressive. It's robust, it's deep. It's a really great tool for anyone who loves creating ambient soundscapes, more experimental sounds that kind of live in that glitchy, sparkly, shimmery territory. And it does that by pairing basically a delay engine side and a reverb side and a stereo presentation with a ton of bells and whistles. And so we're going to dive into it today. Before we do, if you are new to the channel, I appreciate you clicking on the video and watching. If you are a fan of ambient music, if you're a fan of guitar or gear, or just learning about new pedals or guitars or amps and how they can enhance your sound and your workflow, I really would appreciate you hitting subscribe below and following along with the channel. We go through a ton of different videos on topics and gear, and I just love to have you along for the journey here. Engage below in the comments with questions or thoughts, and it'll be a good time. But let's get back into the Technician, the new stereo auditory manipulator from Matthews Effects. And it's cool to see kind of where Matthews Effects has come. I've sort of been in and around the pedal industry for probably about 15 years now. A little bit on the outskirts. I ran a pedal company called Analog Endeavors, doing controllers and switches and devices like that. And so I kind of started out just poking around forums and Facebook groups and things like that. And Matthews Effects is sort of one of those guys and one of those brands that's been around since I kind of started into this world of gear and of pedals. And so it's kind of been cool to just follow his brand arc and see where he's ended up here and then continued on to, from doing a number of drive circuits in the early days to releasing some fun reverb and sort of more wet or digital effects, and now to introduce this Technician, which is a really quite impressive offering. So really cool to see that here, and we're going to go through some of the controls and the features on this pedal, talk a little bit about what it's capable of. I really am sensitive to keeping this video from being an hour or two long, and so it's going to be a little bit of an overview still. There's a lot that you can do with this pedal. There's a lot that you can get into to kind of leverage that stereo dual channel architecture, and then to also just modify and manipulate both the delay modes and the reverb modes. And so we're going to touch on a number of the fundamental features, but we won't hit on every single detail or every single variant of those sounds. But really, it is a truly fun and inspiring and kind of creatively rich pedal that you could spend hours with, turning knobs and finding new sounds and textures and moments with. To start with, we're going to talk about the right side here, which is the delay side. You have a few controls to control your delay sounds, including feedback, mix, and delay time. You've also got tap tempo here to adjust the time. And then with the rightmost button here, you can select from one of four delay modes. One being a digital, sort of just digital delay echo sound. Two being a reverse delay. 3, a granular type delay, and 4, a resample delay that kind of plays back your sounds at a few different pitches and speeds there, which gives it a cool kind of granular, kind of just glitzy type effect. If you move one button over here, you can adjust the tap subdivisions here. You can also affect the frequency response of the filter on the pedal here to give you a warmer or darker sound. And so we're just going to kind of dive into some of the sounds that you can get from those 4 delay modes and give you a taste of what each of them sound and feel like here. For the entirety of this video, I'm going to be playing a Balaguer Ambient Select Espada. We're running into a small pedal board of pedals here that features a 29 pedals EUNA, Origin Effects Cali 76 compressor, and then onto this Matthews Effects Technician. We're sending it on to a Walrus ACS1 in stereo and onto a warm preamp and my DAW. So aside from a little bit of tone shaping with that EUNA and the compressor at front, we are really relying on the Technician for all the ambient sounds in this video, delays, reverbs, looping, and the like. So that's what you're hearing here. Let's check out those delay modes now. If we move over to the left side of the pedal, you have some controls for your reverb side, and similarly, you have 4 different reverb modes. The controls include mix and decay like you'd expect from reverb, and then a clock control which adjusts sort of the size and a little bit of the texture and kind of quality of that reverb. The reverb modes that the technician offers include hall, plate, chasm, which is sort of this big kind of billowy reverb, and then grim, which introduces some sub-octave elements to the decay. You can also adjust the pre-delay of the reverb, and so we're going to hear some of the sounds from each of the different 4 reverb modes here. As we kind of move along, I want to mention that there's a really great kind of introduction and walkthrough video that Rick did on his Matthews Effects YouTube page. I'm going to link to it below here because it's a little bit more helpful in sort of a a visual or kind of video manual perspective. I'm just not going to be that in this video. We're going to show some more of the features and sounds and abilities of this pedal, but it's not going to get as granular as Rick kind of does in that walkthrough to show you some of the ways the modifiers are working, all the different facets and functionality. But I highly recommend you checking out that video if you pick this pedal up and kind of want something to play alongside you as you navigate it. I also encourage you to pull up the manual too, because again, there's just some subtle nuances to some of the elements of this pedal that you could probably gloss over if you don't look through that whole manual. So that's a really useful and helpful thing to reference too. And Rick's done a really great job kind of outlining that in his website as well, and a pretty like interactive manual there that you can reference. So you'll have links to both of those below, but we're going to dive in next to the modifiers, which is kind of a fun like second layer of this pedal. You access them by pressing the center button, and then with each press of these buttons in the middle here, you get access to a tier of modifiers. In the delay modes, you get modifiers such as vibrato, which adds either chorus vibrato type pitch modulation to the delay repeats. You have a tremolo effect that you can adjust on the repeats of your delay. You also have a clock modifier that can give you some of those fun like pitch jump movements in your delay repeats. And then depending on which delay mode you're in, you can also add a modifier that adjusts the damping or kind of frequency response and tonality of your repeats, or adjusts the kind of grain size or characteristic of some of those granular samples and repeats in those modes. We're going to check out just some of the ways that you can manipulate the delay side with some of those modifiers here. Similarly, on the left side with the reverbs, if you hit that center control page button, you get into the modifiers mode. You can toggle this left button here and get at different reverb modifiers. So those will also include things like vibrato for your reverb trails, auto filter that can kind of create some fun movement and motion to your reverb. There's an octave modifier and also a damping modifier for the reverbs. And so again, you kind of have more options to affect and modify and manipulate that left side with the reverb tones that you're getting. Just some really fun ways to kind of create and customize the sounds that you're getting on the reverb side. So we're going to hear a little bit of that here. On top of all of that, built into the Technician is also a phrase looper. So you can go into looper mode, you can grab phrases and loop them and manipulate them in really fun and cool ways. And we're going to touch on just some of the ways that you can create soundscapes and fun textures with that looper mode. You can do some really cool things with the looper, and there's also modifiers for that. You can adjust the clock and the speed and the pitch of the loop that way. You can modify the start points and the end points of existing loops. And then once you've captured that loop and kind of set some of those modifiers, you can go in and engage and manipulate the delay and the reverb side so that your loop is feeding into that kind of ecosystem, that environment of ambience in really, really cool ways. I love to do this by creating a sort of simple or sort of ambient kind of abstract type loop phrase, and then add some granular delay to it. Maybe you've got some vibrato in there too to give some motion, some movement, and then wash it out with a big reverb too. It just is a really, really cool kind of playground for ambient looping. We're gonna just kind of show you a little bit of that now. You can kind of let this video play out as you experience some of the kind of live looping on the fly with the Technician. And so that is the Technician. It's the new stereo dual channel auditory manipulator from Matthews Effects. It's really, really fun. It's one of those kind of pedals that you can enjoy for hours, just turning knobs and finding new sounds and new moments and new textures. To me, some of my favorite things about this pedal include the granular delays, the ability to run those in stereo and kind of hear the dynamics and the back and forth and the flutter of some of those types of effects. It's great to be able to pair those sounds with reverb sounds and just get this kind of wash of ambience. The modifiers are really fun to be able to kind of create your own adventure with some of those tones and create your own types of effects and sounds where you're pairing delays and modulation type effects with reverb and their own modifiers on that side too, and you can kind of create these big presets of sounds that are really nuanced and unique to the sound and the texture and the movement that you're wanting to hear. So those are really fun. One thing that for me is a little bit challenging is when you have all that stuff packed into a pedal like that and you don't have a screen or any sort of kind of visual feedback to some of that stuff. It can be a little bit challenging to remember what you're controlling and what you're manipulating on the fly, and so it is kind of a pedal you got to spend some time with to get to know and learn and retain some of those modifiers and the knob functions and things like that. But I do think there's a lot of fun sounds and fun moments to be had with this pedal. A lot that Rick was able to include and package in to the Technician, and for anyone who's kind of into that ambient, soundscapey, experimental type sound and music creation, it's going to be one that you'll be able to find a number of sounds that will be useful and hopefully inspiring to the things that you're writing and creating. So thanks for checking this video out. I hope it's been helpful to kind of give an overview of the Technician. I hope it's also just been inspiring and kind of motivated you to find or create those new sounds that are in your head. If nothing else, you can leave it playing in the background while you work, and hopefully it is a calming sound in your day. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.